Live from Orlando, Florida, you're now listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Orlando Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
What's up, Magic fans? Welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Basketball Podcast Network. We're your hosts, Al, myself, Anthony. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, which means we are exactly 1 day away from the NBA draft. What's up, Al?
One more day.
One more day, man. We're finally here, and we got a lot to talk about. If you've been paying attention, there's been a lot of noise that's been going around this past week. It's been absolutely chaotic. It's been madness. It's been amazing if you're into this type of stuff. If you're into the rumors, the speculations, the he say, she say, this is definitely your episode because we're going to break all of it down. But before we get into that, just definitely want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon. If you haven't heard, we've released our Patreon now. It seems like it's been about 2-3 weeks now. So quick shout out to our HQ officers, Casey Wood, Finn's Fan for Life, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Mr. Mikey, Zico, Dylan Holden, Yadiel, and Eric Randall. A lot of great conversation happening on our Discord. And these has been like a perfect mold of people because it's been literally nonstop Orlando Magic basketball talk all day long. It's been great.
I'm not sure about you, but it's your wife liking it as much as we
are?
Man,
my wife is not. Nah, it's just like an added layer of additional. Like, it's already bad enough that I'm addicted to this stuff, and then you just add another portal of just a lot of Orlando Magic basketball talk. And it's great, man. If you guys are looking for a more in-depth community, I think that we are definitely growing something special, and we have a lot to offer and a lot of things excited for. We're going to be doing our roundtable discussion, so it's going to be really, really exciting stuff coming out. Now, Al,
don't forget. Wait, before you go there, don't forget the giveaway.
Okay,
we're giving away.
Oh, the giveaway, exactly. Yes. So two giveaways right now. We're going to be releasing one giveaway specifically for our Patreons. It's going to be a jersey. And we've talked about this in the podcast before, but it's going to be a jersey of whoever it is that we end up selecting with our pick, whether it be the first pick, whether it be us trading the first pick and getting whoever it is that we select. You're going to get the chance to be able to win that, and that one's specifically for our Patreon. Then we're going to be releasing another giveaway, which will be an 8x10 poster, an autograph Franz Wagner. That'll be releasing details on draft day on Orlando Magic HQ social media platforms across the board. So a lot of things to be excited for, a lot of prizes to be selected. Now,
that's exciting.
With that said, if you didn't know, I was gone for a couple of days because he decided last minute to, I don't know, do something crazy and fly out to Boston and make it to Game 6, where you saw his second favorite team, Golden State Warriors, win the NBA championship. How was that, Al?
Dude, it was crazy, man. The stars aligned perfectly. So my wife, for those that don't know, my wife travels a lot for work. And last minute, she's like, hey, I got to go up north. I would have to leave either Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And thankfully, I started a new job now where I'm remotely. I'm training. All my trainings are done virtually. So I'm like, wait, let me ask my boss if it's okay for me to work out of a hotel room for a day or two and maybe make it to this game if the Warriors make it to Game 6. Thankfully, they did. Thankfully, he said yes. And thankfully, we found, again, a great deal to go to Boston, the hotel and all this stuff. The tickets were a little pricey, not going to lie. But, man, gave him the chance to witness live Stephen Curry win his finals MVP finally. The Warriors win in Boston. I got to tell you, man, priceless. We went to bed, I think, at 4 a.m. that night. We were hitting the bars in Boston. And I said it on Twitter. Boston fans are amazing, man. Like, yes, during the game, they were booing, kind of throwing jabs at me. But once they won, the shift in basically attitude to now, hey, man, you guys deserve it. Congratulations, this and that. And mind you guys know, I'm a Stephen Curry fan. I'm not really a Warriors fan. I support Stephen Curry. But even then, man, the fact that these people embrace Warriors fans, not only me, but those that were there at the bar along with me, they were buying shots for us. It was a great, great night, great experience. The way I can describe it is it felt like a movie. Like being there, seeing a team win a championship live, it made me so much more hungry to see that happen in Orlando. I wasn't here when Dwight and the Magic made it back in 09. So I just can't wait for that to happen in Orlando. I mean, I don't know what I would do with myself if this was exciting because my favorite player won. Imagine my actual team winning. I don't know what I would do with myself. I mean, it was an amazing experience. I mean, really one of those bucket list items that you check off in your life. That took place last week. So, and thank you, man, because you carry the HQ for the last week to week and a half, kind of here with all these things that are going on. So I owe you a few drinks at the party on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm not going to let you forget that either. Definitely owe me a few drinks.
I got you.
You know, it must be really nice to have a secondary favorite team and they win like an NBA championship and you're excited about it. I don't know what that feeling is like. That's what happens. Born and raised in Orlando. If you know me, you already know that information. I don't follow, like, for me personally, I don't have my favorite player or players that, you know, wear my uniform. It's I wish I can really, like, even if, you know, I like watching Golden State Warriors play. I like Steph Curry as a player. I think that he does a lot of great things in the NBA and whatnot. But yeah, I can't, like, passionately, I can't be invested like that. I wish I can be invested the way that you're invested. I really do.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm happy.
But I gotta be honest though, like it's hard to do. Like they play so late during the week most of the time. They play at 10 p.m. So truly, I don't really get like to watch him every single game like I do with the Magic. I get to really pick things up in the playoffs. Thankfully, they make it pretty much every year. So I pick it up in the playoffs. But I mean, during the season, it's kind of hard. I keep track of the stats. I keep track of his accomplishments. So really, the Magic are my team. But again, it's kind of worked out where the Magic has been struggling the last 6, 7, 8 years. And the Warriors kind of shifted into this dynasty that they become. So kind of good timing. But I'm ready for it to shift back to the Magic being great. And hopefully Steph be great too. So we'll see what happens. But it's worked out in that sense.
And you know what the great thing about Golden State Warriors winning the championship is that the NBA season's finally over. That's it, man. We're square one. Everyone has the same record. And right now, the Orlando Magic are on the mountaintop. With that being said, they just released the new power ranking. Well, the early prediction power rankings through ESPN. And they listed the Orlando Magic as the 30th worst team in the NBA. The 30th. Now, keep this in mind. It's ESPN. So we know they have very knowledgeable people that really understand the Orlando Magic, that watch every single game. And whoever put this list together understands that everything involved, from Franz Wagner to getting a healthy Markelle Fultz and hopefully a healthy Jonathan Isaac and adding this number one pick, they're taking all these elements into consideration, but yet they still put us at 30th. Agree or disagree? I already know your answer, but I got to ask.
I mean, it's embarrassing. You mentioned Franz Wagner's name. Guess what? He was not even mentioned in the little paragraph they wrote about the Magic.
Insane.
It is what it is, man. Like you mentioned, we know with the Magic winning the lottery, it was so obvious when this reporters, analysts had to talk about the Magic on national media, and all of a sudden they're like talking about things that just don't make any sense. It is what it is. You know, I'm not going to go too much. We have better things to talk about tonight. But I would just say it's embarrassing, you know, for an NBA analyst, ESPN, such a large source, to not know what's going on in Orlando, to not know the potential of this team and how well we played when healthy, when Markelle came back. And mind you, you're adding 2 talented young guys in J.I. and a first-round pick in a few months, let alone the development that's going on, the way the team has played when healthy. It's incredible to me. But it is what it is. You know, we got to take it. And, hey, if I'm Mosley and I'm the players, this is motivation for you next year to say, hey, let's prove them wrong.
Like, it's okay if they're kind of off a little bit, but to me personally, it doesn't feel that way because we've had conversation, other people in the fan base, we've had conversations where we say, you know, this team could really at least be competitive enough to we're expecting. The expectation is the play-in tournament. That's at the bare minimum. We understand that there's a lot of factors that go into that. Health, the number one pick that we have is playing like a number one pick, and development from all the other key players. But we're not even taking into consideration what the Magic plan on doing with free agency. We're not taking into consideration what the Magic could or could not do during the trade portion of it. Like, there's a lot of, like, the team that we see right now will not be the team that we end up seeing, you know, day one when the season starts. And granted, it's they specifically say early power rankings. I just think it's laughable that it's the amount of disrespect that we get from the national media to where they say as of right now it's the 30th. I just don't see how that's really really possible.
Like I said, to me, it's motivation. That's all it is. Take it, run with it, make good decisions this offseason, and prove them wrong. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Now they already came out with the summer league scheduled. The summer league schedule that's been released. Magic will open up the summer league on July 7th against the Houston Rockets. Will play Sacramento on July 9th, and then OKC on the 11th, followed by the Knicks on the 14th. I believe from what I read, they're going to have 3 games that's nationally televised, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's going to be on ESPN.
So 3 on ESPN, 1 on NBA TV. So pretty much all of them are going to be
4.
Yeah.
Great. So that's awesome. The great thing about that is that we're going to get a chance to really have a first look at us going against Houston. So we're looking at the first pick going against the third pick. And I really, really hope that in that game, we're watching Paolo play, whether that be for us or for Houston. I'm dying to see what that matchup ends up looking like.
Yeah, and then also don't forget OKC, the third game against OKC. So by then, it's hard to predict whether these players will be playing or not. But if they are, that'll be so. Basically, you get to see the first pick, you get to see the second and the third in a span of a few days. So it should be fun.
Yep. And then just recently, we also heard Jeff Weltman come out. He had a press conference where he got a chance to talk to the media. What were your thoughts on some of the things that you heard from Jeff Weltman?
Absolutely nothing.
Yep, pretty much. That's a great summary. Absolutely
it's
nothing.
30 minutes of answering a question and not really saying anything. So we know that already, right? Like there were a few things I will say. Like he kind of acknowledged the Terrence Ross rumors and basically said, we are actively looking for options, but also don't be surprised if he's here next year. So what's the outcome of that? Nothing. He could be here. He may not be here. We heard about either the Magic trading the pick or not trading the pick. We don't know. It could happen, but probably it won't. So again, you're back to square one. So it was 30 minutes of, again, just a lot of nonsense and just not really answering the questions clearly. One of them, my favorite, was asking him clearly, did Paolo Banchero come to Orlando work out? And he went all the way around it and did not answer the question. So it is what it is, man. I'm used to it by now.
Yeah, so he was quoted as saying, I expect us to make this pick. That said, it's our job to explore any avenue to make this team better. So he did not say that he wouldn't trade it. He did not say that he was definitely going to make the pick. And you're right. He didn't, when he was asked specifically if he worked out with Paolo, he confirmed what we all know is that they take really great pride in not releasing any information. He thinks that that's in fairness of the players that he brings in, as well as, the team strategy. And they're right. That's kind of how they operated completely. I just wish that at least some confirmation would happen. So some of the confirmations that we did get is the fact that we did confirm that we worked out Chet, Ivey, and Sharpe, who have worked out for the Magic. We already knew that Jabari had worked out for the Magic. But what are your thoughts so far on the guys that we have brought in?
So, as we expected, pretty much separating everybody. Another name that we know that also came into Orlando was Keegan Murray. So if you think about that, the first 6-7 picks have been to Orlando, with the exception of Paolo. We haven't gotten a confirmation on that one yet, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it's what we expected. The Magic will do their homework. They were going to see every single player that's projected to be a top pick, and I don't blame them. They have a choice to make, which is let's get these guys, let's get to know them. And don't forget what we've heard in the past. You're also interviewing guys for the future. If you got a chance to trade for them a year from now, 2 years from now, now you know who they are. Now you know what you like about them, what you dislike about them. So I don't think we'll draft Sharpe or Ivey unless we trade down. But hey, it doesn't hurt. If they're not happy with their team they're in a few years, we have the ability to trade for them and we like them enough personally, we can acquire them. But yeah, nothing new there. I think we all expected that. What is surprising to me is our next topic about Paolo, but let's see where that goes.
There's been a major shift on how everyone is viewing Paolo Banchero. This is something that I've been talking about so much for the last 30 days. And 30 days ago, we had already kind of figured that Paolo Banchero is just not going to happen. There's zero chance. So it kind of forced people that are rooting for Paolo, like myself, to kind of look elsewhere. But what we've been seeing is that there's might or might not be a real possibility. So a lot of chaos has occurred where there's been mixed reports pretty much saying, is Paolo really a possibility? There's been conflicting reports. They're saying that, he is now the second best odds to be drafted by the Magic, surpassing Chet according to Vegas odds. but there's also reports indicating he does not believe that the Magic will draft him, and as a result, he has not worked out for the Magic. Pretty much saying that he's been kind of postponing working out for the Magic numerous times. And with that, we're already so close to the NBA draft, so it may not seem as if we're going to get that opportunity. Now, we heard early on that the Magic want to do their due diligence, and no matter who it is that they like, they want to make sure that they go through a very, very thorough process. But in my opinion, you have a player that we expected very early on, especially through March Madness, for him to be in that conversation. But it seems as if the minute that college was over, he kind of took the back seat and it was more Chet and Jabari. But now we didn't even get a chance to work him out. What are your thoughts on that? Who do you fault that on? Because now we know that it wasn't the Magic front office. Now we know that for a fact. But where do we go from here?
It's surprising. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of a prospect not wanting to work out for the team that has the first pick in the draft. Now, whether it is that he doesn't want to work out for the team or whether it is that he wants to simply go to Houston, a lot of things that we don't know, right? But it's very surprising. I mean, we had gotten confirmation, or so we thought, that he had worked out for the Magic already and people were reporting it already. And now we're hearing from the same person that, oh no, he was supposed to be there Sunday and Monday, but it hasn't happened as of today. Today's already Tuesday. So more than likely, he will not make it to Orlando, it seems like. I just wonder, so his agent is Mike Miller, who has really good connections to the Orlando Magic, as we all know. Very close to Coach Mosley. We saw him celebrating when the Magic won the lottery and dapping him and all that good stuff. My thinking is, does he know something that we don't know? Does he know the Magic truly like Jabari that much? Does he know the Magic like Chet or Jabari as the number one prospect? And he doesn't want to waste his prospect, his client's time by coming to Orlando. Doesn't make too much sense to me, because if there is a chance he may go one, why not give him that chance? Why not expose him to the Magic and see if he can convince him to go one? But it could also mean something that I've been concerned about the whole time about Paolo, which is his mindset, his aggressiveness, his kind of something about him that I've said it before in the podcast, I haven't liked. And this kind of confirms stuff for me. It's not the right thing to do, man. If I'm in his shoes, you come to Orlando, you work out, you interview, and you do it well because you want to be the first pick in the draft. Unless there's more to the story that we don't know about. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm really disappointed. I think that even if you don't have a chance to go 1 and 2, you would hope that he has the mindset to say, I don't care if you don't think that I'm 1 or 2 right now, but let me at least go out there and show you what I have. At least try to convince, talk to them. And just one of the things that we really talked about in the beginning is, I was dying to have Paolo, talk to the front office and convince them otherwise, and we didn't get that opportunity. You would think that the relationship with Mike Miller would give us a better chance at that, and we really didn't get that opportunity. And I think that is very, very unfortunate. At the same time, so what? Okay, we didn't work them out. There's enough data, there's enough excuse me. There's enough data, there's enough information out there that we're able to utilize and resources to still make the pick if you believe that he is your guy. Now, a part of what I think it is also, and I read this somewhere, but the general manager of the Houston Rockets is from Seattle. Kevin Porter Jr. is from Seattle. So from my understanding and from what I've read, there's ties to Paolo, and Paolo is familiar with at least the general manager and Kevin Porter for a little while from that Seattle base. And that might be a reason as to why. Maybe he really, really does want to go to Houston. And I think that might be the case as well.
That could be it. But I mean, again, what does it say about a guy like Ivey or a guy like Sharpe, who took their time to come to Orlando to interview with the team, knowing that they're not going one? They know that, right? Or so we think. I don't know. Like I said, there's always been something about Paolo that just has driven me away from him for whatever reason, even though lately I'm kind of like, all right, if he really can be that Jason Tatum, and I love Jason Tatum, and he can be that for the Magic, let's go. I still got Jabari higher on my list, but today really disappointed me. Now, could all this be smokescreen? Could all this be just agents controlling the media? Maybe.
100%.
We don't know that either. So I cannot judge him because we don't know all the facts. But if this is true, again, as an outside looking in person, as a Magic fan, as a basketball fan, I don't know how I feel about that because again, you would want to have that drive to be the number one pick, unless you really want to control where you go. I get it in that sense, but we haven't gotten that. We haven't heard that from anybody that he's trying to go to Houston and that's his place. But then again, it just kind of it's tough because we finally have the first pick. We finally dictate what we want to do. We draft what we want, and now we're hearing rumors about Paolo doing this, Chet doing some other things. It's like, all right, so we got the first pick, but it's not really helping us when the environment we're in is not helping us. So I don't know. It's disappointing, but at the end of the day, like you said, we didn't work out J.I. We didn't work out Jalen Suggs. So at the end of the day, I think Mo Bamba didn't work out for the Magic either. So at the end of the day, none of this matters. If you got the first pick, guess what? You got to come play for us.
And the way I view it is you take a look at the whole entire way that the national media have really been communicating this NBA draft and prospects and mock drafts. It's really weird because everyone is selecting Jabari Smith Jr. to the Orlando Magic, from The Ringer to ESPN to Bleacher Report. Everyone has Jabari Smith going to the Orlando Magic. But when we switch over to everyone's big board, every single person's big board has Paolo Banchero as their number one. On the list of 60 players that they have in ranking of who the best player is in this draft, they have Paolo number one. And everyone is putting fit. Everyone is saying Jabari should go to the Magic because of fit. My question to you is, why is fit so important to everybody? In the way that I view it is, we're one of the worst teams in the NBA. Granted, there's factors. We understand that. But if we're one of the worst teams in the NBA, the way that I always looked at it is, forget fit. You draft based on best player available and you handle everything else later. But I look at a player like Paolo and listen, we can't just say that he doesn't fit, because he does fit, because he's versatile. He's a perfect player for a positionless basketball that everyone is trying to play right now. And again, you look at everyone and everyone is saying Paolo is the best player in this draft. But for the Magic, you shouldn't pick Paolo. You should pick Jabari.
I think what's making that happen is the fact that, yes, most websites have him listed as the best prospect, but in reality, nobody really knows that, which is kind of weird to say. Again, we don't have the consensus number one pick this year. So people might say he has the higher ceiling. He may be the best prospect in 5 years from now. But at the end of the day, there are concerns too. And I don't know if those concerns are enough to put him down on the list. But like you mentioned, I've read a few articles today. He is the best prospect at the moment that's being listed. So why aren't the Magic falling in love with this guy? You would think. The problem is Jabari has his fan base out there, including myself. He's got guys that believe in him. One of them was today, I forgot his name, on an ESPN interview with Woj, and before we just started recording. He was comparing Jabari to possibly Kevin Durant. And then you hear those things, it's like, all right, so you have Paolo out there. You have Chet out there, who might be a game changer for the NBA for years to come. But nothing's guaranteed. And that's what makes this year's draft so weird, is that nothing is guaranteed. So it forces you to kind of just go out there and draft, not necessarily for fit, but who you think is going to be the best player in your locker room, in your team for years to come. So if Paolo doesn't want to come to Orlando, for instance, he's kind of making it clear, it seems like, why draft him? That's going to mess up the chemistry in the locker room. It's going to mess up things that the Magic have been building the past few years with the young guys. So I guess it goes deeper than just talent, and that's why they're seeing Jabari as a better fit. He wants to be here. He can shoot lights out, which the Magic want and need. So based on that, they're kind of allowing him to Orlando for that reason alone. But I agree with you. It shouldn't be just based on that.
I mean, let's be honest. You think Weltman and Hammond, they cared two licks about who the Ringer has at number one on their big board, or what ESPN is saying? Like, there's nobody in that front office that's taking a look at anyone's decision-making opinions. They don't care about any of that. They got their own big board. So we could sit here and have all these conversations all we want. At the end of the day, they have their own vision of who they think these players are. And I think that that's the most important thing that we can take from all the noise that we've heard. Nobody knows anything. We understand that. the little bit of information that we're getting, we're getting from the players' camps. Like we're getting it from, whatever information that they're leaking, because we already know the Orlando Magic, they're not leaking anything at all. We're over here trying to get crumbs from what everyone else is saying. You got one person that's saying that, yep, they worked out with Paolo has worked out with the Magic. A couple of days later, we hear, yep, that didn't happen. So there's a lot of news being thrown around. Even Jeff Waltman in the press conference, he's mentioned the terminology gamesmanship. I've heard that a word a lot in different podcasts, and that's exactly what it is that's happening. There's strategy that's being placed. We can even sit here and say all day long that the Orlando Magic, we're not saying, they don't say anything. They're a closed vault. But who's to say that they're not leaking something, anything, to make it look like we want this when we're trying to do that? Everyone has their own strategy. This whole thing is going to come down to negotiations. It's going to come down to the conversations that they have. And realistically, we're hearing all this noise about this and that, and this person is the favorite for betting odds. And realistically, the Orlando Magic might just stick with the number 1 pick and just draft Jabari anyways. And we did all this for nothing,
Exactly.
But at the same time, that's what makes it so fascinating. That's what makes it so fun. It's the fact that there isn't a consensus. It's the fact that we really, literally have no idea what this man is going to do when it comes on June 23rd.
And listen, for people like me and you that we have to create content to keep the fan base engaged, we love it. Because again, how many posts do we have today? Like 6, 7, 8 on Magic HQ? I mean, our topics today are all rumors, are all things we're hearing, are just little snippets from podcasts and articles. So again, for me, I mean, I don't know about you, but in my case, I'm loving this. I'm not engaged at work as much as I should, because it's hard.
This is fact.
But so again, to your point, there's a lot of gamesmanship going on with the GMs, not only the Magic, but just other teams, agents, everybody involved in this process, players for that matter. If they really want to go to some place, they're saying certain things in interviews that are dictating what we think. So it's going to be exciting. The good thing is that as we're recording this tonight, we're exactly 48 hours away from draft day. So we're almost at the end of this. We'll know soon enough what's going to happen, but there's a lot of rumors still to come in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, but let's continue turning the rumor mill. So Chet prefers OKC. That's the biggest thing that we've heard. There's been a lot of noise indicating that Chet and his camp seem to prefer him landing in Oklahoma. And today it was also reported that he did indeed share his medical records with the Magic and OKC. Now, the biggest thing is that he was trying to hold that information. And originally, he did not want to provide the information to the Magic, ended up giving the information. So now we can really make, an educated decision with everything at our grasp. With that being said, if we're hearing from a player or from a camp where they prefer going to OKC, who has the second pick, instead of being the number 1 pick in the draft, instead of having that title, instead of having that money, instead of having all the glitz and the glamour that comes with the number 1 pick, if you're hearing that, does that scare you?
It's concerning, for sure. Similar to the Paolo story, why? How come Paolo wants to go to Houston? How come Chet wants to go to OKC? Like, what's so bad about Orlando that you wouldn't want to come to this amazing city where there's no state tax, where you have your best buddy playing in Jalen Suggs, playing for the team? I think a lot of it comes down also to playing time and fit. We're talking about from a front office standpoint, why they want Jabari. Fit is what everybody keeps saying. What about players? Thinking, where am I going to get my minutes? Where can I get, the bigger spotlight on day one? I think the Magic have a lot of young guys that have that on them, whether it's Wendell Carter, Franz, Jalen Suggs, Markelle. So does Chet want that light on him more than he might get it in Orlando? That's kind of what I'm thinking that might be the issue with these two guys at 2 and 3, kind of trying to stay away from Orlando. The rumors were he did not release his medical to the Magic. Now we find out today he actually did. The only 2 teams that he did was the Magic and the Thunder. So if that's the case, that means that he must be interested in maybe potentially going number 1 if he's sharing that information with us. If he didn't, he wouldn't have shared it. It was that simple. So again, back to what we said a few minutes ago, there's so much going on, so much noise that we don't know what's real and what's not. But I cannot believe in a million years that Chet would not want to come to Orlando if the chance was there for him to be drafted number 1.
And it's something to keep in mind also. The sports agent for Chet Holmgren and I'm not sure if he still is or isn't, but I know that there was some affiliation with Aaron Gordon and also Nikola Vucevic. So who knows if that is maybe a cause of concern also. And at the end of the day, if we're really listening to what they're saying, they're not saying that they don't want to go to Orlando. They're being asked, or it's being leaked, that there is a preference. So it's not saying that they wouldn't embrace Orlando if they're selected. Chet was just recently in an interview where he quoted himself that it doesn't matter where he goes, if he's selected by either team, he's ready to lace him up and get to work. And I think that that's the most important thing to remember. It's not that Paolo doesn't want to play for the Magic, is that he has a preference. The preference would be Houston for him, that is familiar with the general manager and another player there. For Chet, it's the fact that he feels like there's a better opportunity for his future in OKC, to where he doesn't have to battle it out with, Jonathan Isaac and Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba and all these different, big men that we have on the team. So from a basketball standpoint, I completely understand it. At the same time, we wish that us having the number one pick, there's somebody there that wants to stand up and say, damn it, I'm the number one pick. You need to select me here. And from what it sounds like, the only person that is really beating their chest and saying that is Jabari Smith Jr., who continues to remain the favorite to be drafted by the Orlando Magic. And with this camp, has been the only one that has really expressed enthusiasm to wear the pinstripes. So when you hear that, and we know that Jabari is your guy, does it make you feel even more comfortable and confident that he should be our number one pick?
For sure, 100%. So my biggest things with whoever we draft is going to be talent, of course. We need talent in this team, shooting. Number 3 for me is fit in the locker room. Like I said earlier, I want to make sure this dude does not distract what we're doing, because, again, we've worked really hard to have a chemistry in our team like we had last year, where every player was standing on the bench. They pull for each other. They root for each other. There's really no selfishness in the Orlando Magic, from the guy 15th in the roster to the number 1 guy in the roster. You want to continue that. So being happy where you are plays a big role in that. And if Jabari is that guy, he's saying, hey, I want to go to Orlando. I like the fit. I like the coaching staff. I like the locker room. Hey, man, you gotta take that into account, in my opinion. Like you said, he's my guy. So I don't want to sound here like, hey, I'm just saying that because he's my guy. I want him to be drafted by the Magic. Yes, I do. A little bit. But at the end of the day, though, I also think that that's important. And listen, man, everyone cannot be wrong. Like I said, everyone's reporting that Jabari is going to be the guy. It seems like I've heard like 2 people that have said Chet. That's about it. But everybody else saying Jabari is the guy. So there's some noise out there. And like you said, maybe it is the Magic front office just kind of throwing something out there to see what happens. But if it is the case, man, and he's the guy that we draft, again, whether it's him, Chet, or Paolo, I'm going to be equally excited. Because, again, we're getting a really, really good player at number 1. But this dude, I really, really believe, can play multiple positions and will be a good fit in the locker room, but also on the court, based on what we have already in our roster. So if he wants to be here and we agree, meaning our front office agrees, just make it happen already. Don't overthink this. Just do it and move on.
ESPN, Yahoo, NBA Draft.net, The Ringer, Bleacher Report all have Jabari Smith Jr. going number 1 to the Orlando Magic. So I think that for the most part, when people look at it and they're comparing the 3, I heard a lot of Jabari Chet, right? Those were, if not one, that's my other. And I feel like these past 14 days has really shifted. Chet has really made he's rubbed a lot of the Orlando Magic fan base the wrong way, where he's kind of fallen to that third. Even Vegas is viewing it that way. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the comments that we heard. And I think that we're hearing a lot more of Jabari. Jabari has done a lot of the press. He was on ESPN yesterday with Stephen A. Smith, and he was talking about how he believes that he should be the number 1 pick. We heard the comparisons to Kevin Durant, which I don't find 100% accurate, but we're hearing those things. And what I like from Jabari and what I like about Chet that I really don't get from Paolo is that it's their intensity that kind of stands out. Like, these are people that really, and I'm not saying that Paolo doesn't have it, because Paolo is my guy, he's my pick. But what stands out to me about Jabari specifically is what we heard about his intensity and how he takes everything so serious. And he cares about his head coach was just talking the other day about how he cares about what it says on the scoreboard more than what he cares about his personal numbers, and he takes practice serious. He takes everything serious and with such a high intensity that I think is something that's really needed for the Magic team. And I think that it's something that is contagious and can really rub people the right way to push the team forward. And I think that when it comes to Jabari, I wouldn't be upset if we select him. I think that a lot of people would embrace him quickly. People will automatically forget about Chet and about Paolo. At the end of the day, we're hearing the same things from the three, where everyone has their own opinion about who's going to be that next all-star, who's going to be the next generational talent, who's going to be the face of the franchise. And what's crazy is that we are literally less than 48 hours before we find out who.
It's exciting. I mean, for how long have we waited and wanted for us to draft a guy that can shoot, or acquire, for that matter, via trade, a guy that can shoot, or sign in free agency a guy that can shoot? We're less than 48 hours away from being able to do so. Whether it's Chet or Jabari or Paolo, for that matter, you're getting a scorer, a guy that can come into the league and average hopefully 15, 20 points as a rookie. That's exciting. But to follow up quickly on the Jabari Smith topic, like you mentioned, man, the mindset that this kid has as a 19-year-old kid is to be the greatest player in the league. And he also wants to win the championship more than anything. Exact quotes that he said in a recent interview. Again, as a 19-year-old kid, to say those things, it's exciting. As a Magic fan, you want to have a player as a rookie thinking that way. And the work ethic. So when you talk about those things, the work ethic, the fact that he's a great guy, good person, sounds like a Magic player to me. That's why, to me, this whole entire process has been about Jabari for me, because everything I hear about the kid, it's like he was scripted or made for our front office. Wingspan, length, can shoot, can defend. I mean, what's there not to like? I just sent you a quick text. I found it on Twitter. So Jabari Smith's pulling away again on Vegas odds, by the way. As we're recording this, we're kind of just reporting live things. So Jabari now on BetMGM, minus 200. On DraftKings, minus 210. So for a few days, we've seen that kind of lead dwindle down. Chet kind of catching up. Paolo catching up most recently. It's kind of going back up into the Jabari way as well. So Vegas may know something, which they always do. And again, if that is the case, exciting. If it's not, so be it. Like I said, any of those top three guys in Orlando would be a great fit no matter what.
Yeah, and to add to that, we're looking at a kid that is literally 1 year younger than Chet Holmgren. So you're telling me, like, right now, if we're going based on everyone's power rankings, you have a player that is 1 year younger than Chet that's already considered better. So what is he going to look like a year from now once he has the NBA experience, when he really starts growing into his body even more? And God forbid this dude ends up messing around and start, creating a handle for himself and being able to be his own playmate, be a playmaker in the NBA. Now everything that we were talking about, and granted, you can make this argument for either one of the three, but you're looking at an all-around player that already plays that way, which is minor things that can be really tweaked and really be highlighted. Because everything that we've heard, everything that we've read, he really everything that you kind of see him as, where he has these deficiencies that he didn't get a chance to really showcase it in college, and that's kind of the things that people are really poking at.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard about the numerous things about him. The fact that his guards were not really good guards, so he had to kind of be a guy that created out of nothing. He was given the ball a lot, laying the shot clock to say, hey, you make something happen, because the shot clock's winding down. And again, yes, there are areas of weaknesses, but like you mentioned, man, this kid is 19 years old. People are acting like this guy's 30 and can no longer develop and improve on his game. I mean, not for nothing. Back to Stephen Curry for a second. Can you compare Stephen Curry today to what he was in 2009 when he came into the league? Nope. Strictly a shooter? No, right? JJ Redick, another guy that came out of college being one of the greatest shooters in college. Took him a few years to kind of figure it out, but he was 6'3", 6'4". A dude that really couldn't do much other than just shoot the ball. Jabari is a dude that can impact the game on both sides of the floor, can shoot the ball, can attack the rim. Again, there's so many things that this kid can bring to the table. Again, I'm not going to fall in love with the kid just yet because it hasn't happened. I don't believe nothing until it actually happens with the Magic. But if we do draft this kid, it's going to be exciting. And not for nothing, I never bought a Evan Fournier jersey number 10 because I never thought he was going to be here for long. I cannot wait if he is number 10 in Orlando, because, man, what a perfect replacement for number 10 from Fournier
Stop lying, man. Don't waste your money. Just go ahead and grab your Evan Fournier jersey that you got in the closet and just buy the letters on the Amazon and make your own adjustments.
Never.
Now there's been rumors indicating that Rockets have inquired about moving to number 1. Could the Magic really trade that number 1 pick? Is that really a possibility? Do you see it happening? Or do you really believe that, the Orlando Magic are just going to stand put and they're just going to select that one?
I think if you have your guy and you like that guy, just pick and get your guy. Well, this Jabari, Chet, or Paolo at number 1. Just do that. I mean, so much could go wrong if you say, hey, let me trade down to 3 because we know that X player will be there. But guess what? Now that team you traded with all of a sudden played you and then so ends up taking the guy that you really wanted. Or OKC at 2. Surprises you, doesn't take Chet. And instead they take Jabari, for instance, in this case. Too much can go wrong. So if you are in love with the player, you like a player enough, stay at 1, make the pick, move on. Now, if the opposite happens, you do not have a guy that you're number 1 on, you're not really in love with anybody, you're okay with those top 3 like we are, okay, any of those 3 will work. Then yeah, trade down, acquire another asset in the process, and then just draft whoever's left over at 3. But you have to be really, really sure that you don't like any one guy specifically more than the other.
I mean, we can't sit here and say that hasn't happened, won't happen. It's exactly what happened, back in 2017 with the Boston Celtics, where they ended up trading down and ended up getting Jason Tatum. Amazing trade. It's an amazing outcome. Can I see it happening? Absolutely. Do I think that it will happen? I feel like as much as we've seen our front office now, because we have a really big sample size in the way that they operate, is that they are a bit conservative, but when they have to make a move, have shown the ability to be able to pull the trigger. Markelle Fultz, Nikola trade, Aaron Gordon trade. So they've done a lot of really, really good. And I think that when you have the number 1 pick and you're in a draft where there isn't a consensus, I think you have to ask yourself, did you find that player that you said that you fell in love with? And I think that if the answer is yes, then you go ahead and you select that pick. But if the answer is, damn, I really love this player, but I love this player and also love that player, I think that ultimately it would come down to now you're in a position where you're able to maximize your leverage. You're able to use that number 1 pick and you're able to trade down to the 2nd pick, the 3rd pick. So for example, let's say that the Thunder really wants Chet. That's their guy. And they're not in love with Jabari or Paolo. And the Magic convinced them, well, if you want Chet, you come and take him, because if you don't take him, then we're going to take him. I think that's the only way that we will be able to see. Obviously, that's the only way that we'll be able to see that type of move. But I think that when it all comes down to it, I think the Magic are just going to stand put, and I think that they're going to select Jabari at 1. I think that all this conversation, everything that we've been doing the last couple of days, I think ultimately is going to be the most predictable thing possible, and that's Jabari at 1. And I don't mean that in a boring way. I don't mean that as in a bad way. I think that that's still a very winnable outcome, and it's something that a lot of people should be excited for.
Yeah, I mean, it may sound boring now because we've been hearing about it for the last 2-3 months. But last year, if you think back to last year in June after the draft, the number 1 prospect was really Paolo and Chet coming out. So it is surprising that the Magic, let's say, end up picking Jabari Smith. That wasn't what we knew was going to happen a year ago. So things have shifted a little bit in the last 9, 10, 11 months. But very quickly to respond to your comment about the 2017 draft with like Markelle and Jason Tatum dropping to 3. The thing there, in my opinion, was you kind of knew who 1 and 2 was going to be. Markelle was going to be 1 no matter what. We knew 2 was going to be number 2 no matter what. Jason Tatum was basically the Celtics saying, we don't want Markelle. You can take him. We'll drop to 3. The thing with this year's draft is you don't know who's 1, 2, or 3. We're hearing a lot of things, but we don't know officially who really is in that order. So the Magic dropping to 3 thinking we can get Jabari there may not work out. And then you get stuck with Paolo, who didn't work out for you. It may be 100% great a year from now, but that wasn't what you intended to do. That shift things in the way you approach free agency, trades. So it's a lot that it impacts that decision. So that's why, in my opinion, if you know your guy, it all comes down to what you said and what I said. If you fall in love with a guy, you already have a plan for free agency. You have a plan for the draft, for trade market. Don't mess it up. Don't overthink this. Yeah, you can get greedy and get another pick in the process, but don't do that. If you have a plan in place, execute it, move on.
And it's crazy because everyone knew 2017 Markelle Fultz is going to be the number one pick, to the point that when the Sixers got the pick, they already had, when they brought Markelle Fultz in, they already had this man, his jersey, inside of a locker room already. Like they knew that was a player that they really wanted. I can't remember if the visit was before or after. I obviously it was before the trade, right? Anyways, I think that's what makes this draft so freaking unique and so exciting, and a lot of people are so anticipated for it. Is the fact that you literally, like, it could be either chaos or it can be predictable. It's literally one or the other. There's no in between. It's either everything you thought it was going to be, or my God, I can't believe that happened. And people are going to have their own opinions on, if the Magic did good, didn't do good, whatever the case may be. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. People are going to be really, really excited, and I can't wait for us to be at the Amway celebrating, whatever the pick may be.
48 more hours.
Yeah. All right. So real quick before we end the episode, Terrence Ross. So it was commented during the Jeff Weltman press conference. He was asked about it. He made his comments on how he is the utmost professional, and there's a possibility that he may or may not be on the roster. But what do you think? Is Terrence Ross gone? Do we believe that we are not going to see him again in a Magic uniform?
I think so. So, I mean, he's already addressed this in a podcast in the past. Yesterday in a story, he did like a little Q&A. Somebody asked him, where are you playing next season? He gave it one of these, like, who knows type of reactions. I think it's over. I think, again, Terrence Ross, if you know me, love the guy. A lot of great memories in Orlando. The Human Torch. I mean, he's a key member in us making the playoffs back-to-back years. Gave us something we haven't had in a while. A wing player that can shoot the ball, attack the rim, throw down some highlights. Crazy, amazing player for our team. The thing is, unfortunately, time has passed. We're now a young team. We're now needing minutes for the young players to develop. If Gary Harris is back, then that's where the minutes go. So, unfortunately, it's time for him to go. Now, the unfortunate part is we're not going to get what we should have gotten maybe a year ago had we traded him, which would have been easily a first-round pick. Now we're going to get stuck with 2 future second-rounders, if that, and maybe a young player that a team doesn't really want. So his value is really at an all-time low right now because he didn't really have a good season. And again, we waited way too long to make this move, if you ask me. But again, not too excited about it, but it's going to happen.
He's had other better seasons, I agree. I think at the same time, he's still young enough in his vet role where you at least still know what you're getting. And I think that, yeah, maybe Terrence Ross might not get you a first-round pick. At the same time, the Magic do have the option to be able to include whatever with Terrence Ross to try to move up, whether it be your early second-round picks, whether it be another player, whatever the case may be. There's definitely options. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think that he's definitely a player that he's done his time with us. He's the last man standing from the Rob Hennigan regime, and I think that it's about time that you let the bird fly and go where it is that he wants to go. And I think that we've gotten to that point. Even if we don't get back what we're expecting to get back, he's a player that has done a lot of good for the franchise, a fan favorite. He definitely deserves to be able to go somewhere where he appreciates playing the basketball and playing the game of basketball and being able to compete, for a veteran team and not just a team that's rebuilding.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the Magic will do right by him. So whatever he wants to go, they'll accommodate him. Hopefully, he'll be a contender. I don't know why. I keep thinking it's going to be one of the LA teams, whether it's the Lakers, the Clippers. I keep thinking he's going to be ending up in a team like that here over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and we still have, there's so many different things. Like, granted, we have the draft coming up, but then we got free agency. We still need to find out what's going to end up happening with Gary Harris and Mo Bamba. It was said that the Miami Heat are a team that's interested in Mo Bamba. I read somewhere that maybe the Brooklyn Nets as well. So that's going to be a really interesting. Do you believe, or do you see Mo Bamba really going out there and signing another contract with another team and putting the decision on the Magic?
I mean, I could see that happening. I could see the Magic kind of saying, see what you can get out there, and then we'll decide what to do with you. The only team that could really blow out of the water will be Detroit because they have a ton of cap space. So if they throw a ton of money at him, we don't want to match, then that's it. He walks off for nothing. But I don't think so. I don't see any team giving him more than the mid-level exception, which is about $10 million. And then you have the decision to make. Do you decide, hey, let's pay him like we did to Wendell. Let's keep him here for another 3-4 years. Or you say, hey, we drafted Chet. We don't have room for you anymore. You can walk. So it all depends on what happens on Thursday. And then from there, we can kind of predict what's going to happen over the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with that being said, free agency does begin June 30th at about 6 p.m. So that's coming right around the corner. But the draft is where our priority and our focus is right now. What are your final predictions?
I'm going to surprise you. I think the Orlando Magic do not make a trade. And I do think they end up taking Chet with the first pick.
That's not really a surprise. That would be another
meaning. I think you're expecting me to say we draft Jabari number 1. Like, I think that's what, knowing that I like Jabari so much. But I just think they're going to surprise all of us and take Chet number 1 and then mixed reactions. Because, again, every poll that we've done on Twitter over the last few weeks, I've done it every single week. Jabari is always above 50% in the Magic fan base saying we want that guy. If you draft Chet, there'll be a great majority that will be happy. But some of us will be like, they would do the right thing. And I think, unfortunately, that's what may happen on Thursday night. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I think the Magic will do, if you ask me.
We already know that nobody knows anything. Like, nobody knows nothing. Nobody knows nothing about the Orlando Magic. But I think that if Jabari isn't selected, then it confirms that really nobody knows nothing. And I think that that's going to be the comical part of all this. What I think the Magic will do, my prediction is that they will select Jabari at 1. That is my prediction. What I want them to do is I want them to trade the number 1 pick and either get Paolo or still get Jabari. Like, I just think that would be the most gangster move that the Orlando Magic could do, is if Jabari's your guy, still find a way to trade the number 1 pick and still get your guy Jabari. I think that would be crazy, and I think that's something that we would have to literally applaud the Orlando Magic for doing. But my heart and my brain, my gut is still saying you got to find a way to get Paolo. He's the best player in the draft right now. Still has a whole lot of upside, and I think that if we don't select a player like that, I think we might look back and maybe not regret, but we'll keep an eye on and say, "Damn, man, I wonder how this team would have been if we would have had a player like that on this roster."
It's unfortunate, man. Yeah, but I will say this though: OKC has like 1 million draft picks over the next few years.
This is fact.
Just call them and say, hey, take number 1, give me number 2, and send me another draft pick. That's it. Like, take your guy. You want Chet, take Chet. You want Jabari, take Jabari. And we'll take that next guy, whoever's left at that point. But, again, highly unlikely if you ask me.
Yep, we will find out soon enough. A lot of exciting things that happen within the next 24, 48 hours. So if you guys are heading out to the Amway, we will be out there for the NBA draft party. And on that note, man, we're going to find out soon. It's a wrap. Catch you guys next week. Well, we'll catch you guys immediately after the NBA draft. We'll be recording an emergency pod. So we'll talk to you guys then.
Thank you for listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Magic fans. For all the latest Orlando Magic news and updates, follow us on Twitter at the OZone Pod and on Instagram at Orlando Magic HQ. Remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.